Welcome back to Newsroom. I'm Chella Smith. This is your Middle East U.S. entertainment news here on YouTube. I air on Fridays. I bring you the latest on reforms and economics Iraq based on reports put out by the Middle East news media outlets. I do this weekly review and it's based off my interests. Thank you everyone for joining me. Last week we talked about goods and services, OPEC, and Iraq's foreign reserves. We also talked about United Nations General Assembly. This week's newsroom will be very limited, but let's take a look at this week's headlines. The delegations between Iraq and Iran. Shafak News reports the head of the Iranian Iraqi joint chambers, Yahya al-Ishaq, expected on Friday that Iraq will turn into the largest economic market in the region during the next decade, especially for Iran, stressing that this country seeks to increase the volume of trade exchange with this neighboring country. That Iranian officials attributed in a statement carried out by the semi-official Iranian news agencies Fars, saying that Iran's exports to Iraq during the past 2 months due to exports of gas and electricity to the country, explaining that given talks that took place between the two countries, this issue should have been resolved. He adds that in addition to the decline in volume of the Iranian exports to Iraq, we also witnessed an increase in exports of non-oil goods to the country, and we hope that our exports to Iraq will reach $10 billion by the end of the current Iranian year, ending March 20th, 2023. Al-Ishaq considers that Iraq's markets to be strategic markets, and he expected that the percentage of exports to the country would rise during the next few months, especially as trade exchanges with Iraq could reach $20 billion within the coming years. He also said that during the next 10 years, Iraq will turn into the largest economic market in the region, especially for Iran. He saw that Iraq is not a weak country in economics terms, as it exported 11 billion oil last month only, and extends according to the planning of its programs to obtain $120 billion this year. Baghdad Magazine News reports the Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kazemi today to discuss Friday in New York with the United Nations Security General Antonio Gutteres. They discussed several files, including the drought file and attacks on Iraqi lands. A statement by al-Kazemi's office, a copy of which was received by Magazine News, stated that they met with Gutteres and discussed with him the solutions in Iraq and the government's efforts to mitigate political differences by adopting the National Dialogue Initiative between the political forces, and also to address the situation in the displacement camps and the efforts of the government will close the largest numbers of them and return the displaced to their areas of origins. The statement added that the Secretary General of the United Nations praised al-Kazemi's role in maintaining civil peace in Iraq, supporting his initiatives in the national dialogue between political forces, and striving to achieve political détente. The meeting witnessed, according to the statement, discussing the education files in Iraq and the government's keenness to advance it and develop infrastructure through its initiative to construct 1,000 schools throughout Iraq at its first stage. The statement pointed out that the meeting dealt with the drought files and its great efforts on Iraq, and al-Kazemi stressed the importance of helping Iraq in its files, which relate to the lives of citizens and the country's economics. Gutteres, for his part, stressed the need to address the drought problem for Iraq suffers. According to the statement, his rejection of the attacks that the effects of sovereignty of Iraq, his affirmation of support for Iraq's unity, and his refusal to interfere in the internal affairs. And the statement also continued to say that al-Kazemi expressed his thanks for the efforts of the United Nations mission in helping Iraq to hold transparent and fair elections, praising the role of the United Nations and its development programs to enhance local capabilities and rehabilitating those efforts by terrorism and projects in the fields of environment and sustainability development. Baghdad Magazine News reports Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kazemi confirmed today Iraq's determination to continue the economic reforms platform. A statement by Prime Minister's office said that al-Kazemi met yesterday with the Vice President of the World Bank Group for the Middle East and North Africa, Farid Belhaj, on the sidelines of participation in the meeting of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The statement added that during the meeting, the most important aspects of a cooperation between Iraq and the World Bank in the financial and economic fields and in the field of providing studies, consultation, and data were reviewed, noting that the meeting touched upon the positive growth in Iraqi's economy and success in facing the challenges caused by global crisis, the disruption of supply chain, and the efforts of the corona pandemic. The Prime Minister stressed Iraqi's determination to continue the economic reform curriculum, lay strong foundations for sustainability development, create an attractive investment environment, and emphasize corporations with the World Bank in areas of modernizing the country's water policy and food security projects. Lastly, Economy News Baghdad reports the Central Bank of Iraq announced the size of its initiatives to support the sector of agriculture, industry, renewable energy, and housing, while indicating its position on electronic payment cards with the private sector. The Central Bank's media office said in an interview with the Iraqi news agency and followed by Economy News that the Central Bank of Iraq is working to organize the relationships with the departments concerned with receiving financial fees from the auditors through electronic payment cards and through points of sales, the POS, in the markets, malls, and sales centers in the sector, pointing to the project owner's desires to contract with the specific banks and to work with point-of-sale devices instead of cash. Regarding the allocations of additional funds for housing complex projects, he explains the central bank has raised the volume of its initiatives in all sectors: industrial, agriculture, renewable energy, and housing, from 6 trillion dinars in 2015 to 18 trillion dinars in 2021 due to the growth of all sectors, especially in the housing initiative. You've been watching Newsroom Weekly Review. I'm Chella Smith, your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on reforms and economics, bringing you the latest Dinar news without having to keep up with all the different outlets. I'm here on YouTube every Friday, so don't forget to subscribe. And if you like my content, give me a thumbs up. I've opened up a Telegram group under Newsroom Chella Smith where you can review all my shows and appearances. Today's show will end early. Our newsroom puppy, Sushi, she has passed away a few days ago. I'm going to go spend some time with my daughter and the rest of my family. This is such a difficult time for us, remembering her in such a beautiful way. She was a beautiful soul. She was always here with me in the newsroom. I don't want to cry, so I hope you guys can understand this week's show is being cut short. I hope everyone has a blessed weekend. I'll see you guys next week when I'm feeling much better. Take care.